Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be going over the Jack-O-Lantern Tarot. It's this beautiful little fun deck. It definitely Halloween themed, but the real essence of it is what is the nature of the situation that something's showing up, and what is the process of cultivating something different. It's the signature spread of the deck, but we're going to go ahead and do a full deck review, go over a little bit about the spread, and maybe you can find out how you can see about a little example reading. But anyway, here is the Jack-O-Lantern Tarot. Let me go ahead and bring this up a little bit more so you can see. So already the artwork in this book or this deck is absolutely fantastic. So let's go ahead and just show you a little example of the back of these. And owls have recently become like a big deal for me. So it's like really timely that I was doing this deck. So let's flip it over. Major Arcana. The thing here, if you're a brand new reader, this deck does go over a little bit of different interpretation. It does have a harvest theme to it. So I would say, like, if you're brand new, I would call it maybe intermediate. But I mean, the pictures, like if you're relatively new and you associate a lot of the meanings with the pictures, these are close enough where you're going to be able to recognize, yes, this is the Fool, his knapsack, the little elements within. I do want to read out of the book just the Fool. I'm going to do this on every single tarot review going forward, just reading the Fool card, just so you can get a flavor of the deck. Now, keep in mind, there's many ways to read tarot. I do Tree of Life readings. I read the Fool completely differently, but this is for this particular deck. But there's no right or wrong way to interpret cards. The Fool. Look out below. Actually, maybe you want to see me while I do this. All right, cool. So the Fool. Look out below, or don't. Youthful exuberance and joy lead your harvest forward without much foresight. Without the jack-o'-lantern's light to guide you, and plenty of fallen trees and autumn brambles at your feet that might trip you up. But there is a certain innocence and naviate to this journey through life. And at times we stumble forward, blissfully arrogant. Throw caution to the wind and step forward anyway. If the spirit moves you, we all are called to run free and play as children in the grand scheme, trick or treat. Now, this does have a flavor of the meaning that I use for the Fool too. Like the Fool and the Magician card go together the way that I read. And the Magician card, all the elements are laid out. It's like conscious use of the different elements of creation. The Fool, all the elements are in the knapsack. The magic lies deep within. And it's like those people that are just blissfully going through life and like they don't seem to have a care. And you're like, how do things just work out? It's because they're following the inner guidance. And that jack-o'-lantern light is like the light of the divine. So I love the interpretations of it. It's close enough, true enough to me for like how I read. So I really appreciate the book. This one doesn't go over reversals and things like that. I am one, I don't always give credence to reversals. Some booklets go into it, some don't. But that we could do a whole video on that. So we have the Fool, Magician, and here we, as I was just mentioning, you see all the elements out on the table, one hand above, one hand below. In shamanism, we would say like this is like reaching into the world of magic, but putting it into a container in which you can actually actualize it in a good way. A High Priestess card, beautiful, beautiful cards. We'll go through these a little bit faster. I want to just give you an essence, a flavor of it all. But they're all beautiful. And they're really, like I said, they're really close to the original pictures. So if you are relying on the images to know what it is that you are, what the interpretation is, this is close enough where you're going to be fine. So beginner to intermediate, I would say. Love the Hermit card. I love that there's a skeleton as a constellation above. That's beautiful. The Wheel, Justice. The Hanged Man, I'll just note the way that I read this is the divine feminine. The head is above the heart. It's like the incarnation coming in at the top of the tree of life. Pretty cool. The Death card. And also, I want to mention, if you're new to tarot and things and you're like, wow, this kind of weirds me out when I get the Death card or like the Ten of Swords, one of the most gruesome cards in the tarot. There's no bad cards. Like even the Devil card, this came up during my New Year's reading for 2022. This is all about using the illusion for the purpose of which it's intended, as a playground, a possibility and creation to be God on earth. But you have to have, the apparent opposite in order to know thyself. So like I said, there's no bad cards. The Tower, the Star, the Moon, all beautiful. I love how like there's the little skulls in the top of the Moon card there. If you're wondering, we got M over here. One of my crystal skulls is kind of holding some space for us. And this is Silka, beautiful bloodstone agate skull carving, just to give us a little bit more power and potency with these. And then but as we go through these at the end here, I'm going to go over the signature spread, which is the pumpkin patch, which I absolutely love. King of Wands, the Ace of Wands, and then we get into twos. Now, the way I read, all twos are understanding, threes are knowing. Like each number has kind of a theme of energy. The fours would be like kindness and beginning, the five at end of cycles, and so on. Of course, there's always exceptions depending on how the other cards lie. Interesting food for thought. Let me know in the comments below. Why do you think this is one of the only pip cards, besides aces, of course, where there's not a person? Anybody have any ideas? What do you think this represents? Nine of Wands. 10 of Wands, but the artwork is just really fun. It's bright, it's colorful, true enough to the original. I like how the knight on this one is like a flying owl. That's kind of cool. I don't think I noticed that the first couple of times I went through this deck. Ace of Swords. This is this comes up for me a lot in readings. Like one of the more esoteric interpretations. They're normally facing towards you. They're blindfolded. The waters are calm beneath them. It's a card of going inward, also to protecting your heart. Normally, this is crossed at the heart, but it's like a card about going inward. And I just offer a couple of these to, if you're a seasoned reader or whatnot, to know that there's like there's a whole bunch of different interpretations. And sometimes if you're doing a reading for someone and like, the card just doesn't make sense, well, maybe there's an interpretation that you could, go beyond what you learned. I've learned like 6 different ways to read now, the different cards. This one, the 2 and the 8 come up a lot. This is a similar one. They're blindfolded, the swords around them, you have to feel your way out of it. It's just like really interesting that how cards compare. This is the one that I mentioned is one of the more gruesome cards in the deck. 10 swords all along the spine, the most sensitive part on the body. And then we have the cups. Now we have just a regular horse instead of the winged owl. I kind of like the winged owl. And you see here the dove putting the wafer in with the water overflowing. Then you have plenty of assistance and aid from the spirit world. Let's see, 4 cups. Almost done. Then we're going to go over the book and just show you the signature spread. And a variation that I would encourage you to play with if you're going to get this deck, that it's kind of how I do my tree life readings, and I think it would work for this one too, a very similar thing. So we'll go over that too. Ace of Pentacles. Six. Are you being victorious over your work, or is your work being victorious over you? I don't know why it's relevant to say that one, because I'm not telling you all of them, but I wonder, maybe there's a little information on here. If you happen to find this review, maybe it's also a message. And the 10 of Pentacles. Now, here's the thing with the pumpkin patch spread. I will show that to you here. There's like 5 little cards that you put out. And the way that it works is the one is the soil. Whoops, we almost lost Silka. The one is the soil. It's the card that represents the environment in which the situation is born. Okay. Then there's the seed, the second one. So soil, seed. The seed is the card of, the seed is what's looking to grow. Like what is needing to be cultivated. Like if you had gotten like, the 2 of swords here, what needs to be cultivated is your inner sight, for example. What do you want to develop? What are your goals? What is at the core of what you're looking for? Like what is really the passion of the soul is what it's asking. Now 3 on the spread is the sprout, which is right here in the middle. So the sprout, this is the card of action. Like what do you really need to do to have this expansion of growth? The 4 is the harvest. And so the soil and seed grew, and the time came to harvest and harvest a pumpkin and pull it from the patch. So this is what you cultivate. Now, so like you're developing a gift if you think about it. Now 5 is a jack-o'-lantern card. So like, okay, so now you have your pumpkin. What do you carve out of it? How are you wanting your light to shine through what has been cultivated? So I love the spread. It's very similar to the Tree of Life spread. And what I would suggest that you do is have a variation. Keep the cards separated by suits and the major arcana. This is not how the book tells you to do it. This is my variation that I think would work really well. And have the 1 be the pentacles, have the 2 be the water card. And this is also the process of alchemy from a solid to a liquid to spirit to either, all that. Have the 3 be the swords, have the 4 be the wands, and have 5 be the major arcana. So if you do it in that way, you're because the whole thing with the soil is like what's going on in the physical world that's really impacting this, right? So if you have the cards separated by the suits and the pip cards, which is how I do my tree of life readings, and there's videos on that if you want to check those out. I do them through Goddess Elite. I'm there every Thursday. You can book them in person or online. And similar to this, I do it so you can see everything. But anyway, separate them into the suits and play around with it. See what happens if you get one pentacle and one cup and one sword and one wand and one major arcana. I have found that the way that I do the readings, it adds directness to the reading. It adds just because the way that I do it, it's like major arcana is the soul message, pentacles is what needs to change, the tools to change it, and what comes of it. And similarly, the little signature the signature spread on this kind of mirrors that. But even if you shuffle them all together, it's a great little spread to give very good direction of what's the situation and what is really, because there's an acronym for the word shit, spiritual human in transition. Whatever's showing up in your environment that you'd like to change, that is the fertilizer for growing something new. And this deck is all about taking yours, because Halloween is the beginning of shadow season, right? So this deck, the morphic field of this deck is perfect for that inner work. So what is going on and what could you do with it? If you were to add the right fertilizer, the right water, the right, sunlight and everything, the situation that seems so bad, like what really could be the bless in the mess and what could come to be as a result of actually, using that situation as fertile ground for something greater. So with that, I leave it with you and check out my channel as well. I will do a practice reading on the Sonic Shaman channel, and hopefully I will have see you soon at Goddess Elite, either in person or online. Thank you so much.